The psychologist now puts a slide of an attractive male on the screen and leaves it there for 8 seconds. If the patient fails to switch it off, he'll get a shock. By means of a second switch, he can ask for a female slide. He never gets a shock while this is on the screen. So he comes to associate the male slides with anxiety and pain, and the female ones with relief from tension. And then it's only a matter of time before the new pattern of behavior transfers itself from the slides to men and women in real life. And when a man has been conditioned by society to hate and fear his homosexuality, this reorientation can be a very great relief.
I didn't feel that homosexuality was wrong, because inside of me I felt a very good feeling towards somebody of the same sex. And I couldn't quite understand why this feeling, this loving feeling, why that was wrong.
I've always been pretty close to my parents, and I found that this was very much getting in the way of our relationship, in that I couldn't be honest about a whole side of my personality, a whole sort of part of me, and having to lie to them made me very uncomfortable. And finally I realized that if I were going to have any self-respect, I really couldn't go on lying, not only to my parents, but to people in general.
Well, what were you lying to them about?
Or playing the sort of straight role, you know, say, going out with, say, a guy at school and then writing home about it, this sort of thing. Feeling that I had to pretend to be something that was, for me, very unnatural.
I was growing up in a small town in Pennsylvania, very conservative, rural town, and I just had no models whatsoever that I could kind of identify with. I knew that I was homosexual, and that in itself didn't cause any major problems, but I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know, I wanted to talk to somebody, and I felt as I couldn't go to the minister, I couldn't talk to my parents, my close friends I couldn't talk to about it, and it was just very difficult to, I just needed to get it out and talk to somebody about it and put it into some kind of context, and I couldn't do that.
Why couldn't you talk to anybody?
I felt that there was nobody who really, that I could talk to about it, who really understood it or wouldn't make any prejudgments about it.
There is a little bar in the Greenwich Village called the Stonewall. Just a dive, mafia-owned, unlicensed, you know, nothing. But it was frequented by our brothers and sisters. It was a busy, busy place. The police came in to harass the bar, and they started this sort of thing that they do. You, and you. Plus some minor brutality, psychological brutality, and some physical brutality. And at some moment, one became so angry, they simply fought back. They locked the police up in the bar from which they were just driven. And they knocked out the windows and threw in Molotov cocktails, and then commenced 3 days of vigorous rioting, and it took the police that long to control these homosexuals. Now, never before had they shown this much courage, and from their courage comes much courage to others.
This is Christopher Street West Celebration Day. Last year, a group of homosexuals rioted in the city of New York against the oppression that they felt there. We've decided to make it an annual day for homosexuals all across the nation. In cities other than Los Angeles, in New York, where it actually happened at, San Diego, San Francisco, Chicago, there's celebrations in the same vein as the Watts Summer Festival here, which celebrate the start and end of the Watts riots in this city, when society became aware of the problems of the blacks. In that same vein, homosexuals hope to impress upon society that we have our problems too. There'll be conservative dressed homosexuals. There'll be some homosexuals who will be dressed a little differently. There'll be some stereotypes, but we're here to let America know that we exist. We're not a myth of any type.
Estimated number of spectators between 25 and 30,000. We got a dispatch from New York a short while ago. The estimate...
I don't know, but I don't go for it at all.
Why?
I think it's sickening.
I think it's fine. I think that society has to recognize them, and they want to do their thing, and they're doing it. And I'm very proud of them for doing it.
I think that it's sort of enjoyable to watch, but I'm glad they don't do it too often.
I think it's just a bunch of bull.
I'm here as a spectator.
Well, I think it's their thing, and that's what they want to do.
I think that a lot of people are going to realize that there's more than there actually is. They didn't realize, I don't think there was this many of them. Kind of surprised me to see all these people out here.
So many of our people, because of our archaic laws, are unable to come out of the closets. And until the laws change so that we can, then it's going to be rough. But there's enough of us that don't have to be afraid that we'll carry the load for the ones that have to be.
They know we're here. It's the police mostly that don't like us to come out in public.
We got one, we're going to get them all. Don't you people worry. We're going to get these queers off the street.
What is the most important thing? That we're all getting together, we're coming together, and that we are saying, okay, we are gay, and we're telling everyone about it. We're making ourselves know we're coming out of the closets, quote unquote, and we're not hiding anymore.
Step back as far as you can. Just get out of the middle of the street. Let these people pass.
Part of the people.
Unbelievable. It's a mind blower, man.
Marvelous.
Very happy to see it.
It was real groovy.
I just think that it was disgusting, that's all I can say. It's like they want to call it Jollywood instead of Hollywood.
I fought in Vietnam for this reason, to come back and see a bunch of faggots parade up and down Hollywood. Wow, man, that's really disgusting.
Any homosexual growing up in this society knows what the minister in the church says about it. Do you know what your teachers say about it? Do you know what your friends think about it with the queer stories and the faggot stories? And it's very difficult to go and talk to them about it when you know already what their set is. You know, the really reassuring thing to me was in no case have I been rejected by any of my friends. If anything, my friendships and my relations with my family have been closer than ever, because now I can talk about areas of my life which I could never talk about before, which I always kept away from them.
I told my mother at the beginning of the year, and my father early this summer.
And what were their reactions?
My mother accepts it very well. My father has reservations about it, but he tries to understand.
It's nice up on campus when we're sitting there with a friend and he's commenting on some girl that's walking by, and I'll comment on some guy that's walking by. And, you know, very comfortable, and I feel very relaxed in that sort of situation. You know, I'll say, well, Luke and I went to movies last night, or something like that, or they invite me over for dinner and Luke and I come over together. Just in living, I'm just being honest and open. I'm not hiding anything. I don't know if I'm getting the point across. You know, it's a very simple thing, but yet it's a very complex thing, a very powerful thing. Just being honest and open around your friends.
I want to be accepted as a human being. Say if I want to walk down the street with my arm around my lover, I don't want to feel that I can do this. I do it now. But I do it still feeling that maybe people are looking at me and thinking, oh, look at that queer. But I want to be able to do that and be regarded in exactly the same way that people would regard, say, a boy and a girl walking down the street with their arms around one another.
The isolation which is forced on us. We really, I think many homosexuals before they undergo personal liberation, they feel very estranged from society, very isolated. Loneliness is part of the violence which is perpetrated among homosexuals. I can remember myself, the Saturday nights I didn't go to those graduate student parties. The Saturday nights I didn't go out with my heterosexual friends. What did I do? I sat home and watched television, or I studied. I spent a lot of time by myself. This is the type of hostility and the violence which is perpetrated among homosexuals. Well, I think any person growing up, they identify with somebody, somebody they look up to, somebody they think is really great. And for a homosexual, who can you identify with? I mean, who can you say, well, I'm a homosexual, and look, that person, that athlete, and that writer, and that musician, and that teacher, and that scientist, they're also homosexuals. For homosexuals, there's nobody to identify with. And, right now, it's obvious to all of us that homosexuals are everywhere, in the arts and politics. Anywhere you look, there are homosexuals. But for a young homosexual growing up and wanting some kind of role model, wow, it's really difficult to find them.
For me, this has been just about the most liberating thing that I've done, to be out in public.
Many people don't realize that they are oppressed at all. You'll hear a gay person say, I'm not oppressed. I go to work from 9 to 5. Nobody knows I'm gay. I don't mind spending $1 for a beer in a bar. My family doesn't know. I'm okay. I'm in the street. Nobody hassles me. I'm not oppressed. Women who say, I'm married. I've got, 4 kids. Can't leave the house, but my husband takes care. I'm not oppressed. Unlike the black struggle or any other liberation struggles, nobody is going to give us anything. We pose such an incredible threat. Why are you doing this? Don't rock the boat. I think that it's political suicide for any homosexual not to be radical or not to be revolutionary.
I think homosexuality should be legalized. I don't think it should be harassed, and I think if we organize and as a large strong body of people, enough people protesting and demanding, I think our rights eventually will be given to us, where we'll have the simple rights of practicing law, being teachers.
As of 1971, a man or a woman who has been convicted of a crime involving homosexual activity or is an admitted homosexual will not be licensed by many cities, counties, or states, thus preventing that person from becoming a realtor, bank clerk, nurse, lawyer, teacher, hairdresser, civil servant, etc.
Just the right to live, and this is what I'm fighting for.
With us, it is a matter of politics, very much so, because our very existence is political right now. It is, whether you like it or not. We are involved in a political struggle, not only for freedom, but for first-class citizenship in this country.
Half of the problem is political, and I think the other half of the problem is people's minds. Enlightenment. And until you start talking to them, you can pick it all you want, and you've got to get in there and talk to the people.
To me, it's just as important that somebody comes into GLF and maybe he leaves 6 weeks later, but he leaves as somebody who has some self-respect. Yes. As somebody who has some models that he can identify.